Hi, my name is Jeff Collins. I teach engineering in St Declan's, Kilmacthomas. We got our funding there for the STEM research project from the ETB, and we were delighted when they doubled the amount from 250 to €500. So our focus from the start was to do a research project to make a model motor. So we were going to make a little model DC motor that would work off a battery and a magnet and a coil. And it so turned out with the lockdown then that we ended up moving online, and we got involved with the Junior Cycle for Teachers in-service group and got asked to sort of take it on further. And we used apps. We downloaded an app there called Microbit that is used to control and program motors to switch on and off, and you can control lights and timers and all this kind of stuff. And we ended up buying programmable robots, and the whole thing just sort of snowballed from a small project, and we ended up going way further. And our school was used for in service for all the teachers of engineering nationally as an example of where the subject could and should progress to in the future using technology. And this video is to sort of bring you along on that journey and see what we did with your money.
For our project, we got funding from the ETB. We looked at how motors work, we made our own working motors, and after researching our motors, we made our own ones, looking at programming motors from the microbit coding. The whole class had a lot of fun. It's a project I'd like to retry.
Right, so this is my model motor that I made in the metalwork class. We bent the plastic on the hot wire bender. The copper brackets were made in the box pan bender. The battery box is just glued on with hot glue. And then you have the switch and the coil and the magnet. So when you turn on the switch, the power will come from the battery and through the, I suppose you call them pillars, and then into the coil. And that completes the circuit, and there's a magnetic field on the magnet and on the coil. And so when it passes through the magnetic field of the magnet, it pushes it off.
We looked at controlling motors using the Microbit app and controlling how they go forward and backwards and what angle they turn at or how fast they go.
We began by learning how to insert text and emojis onto the microbit using YouTube videos and screen recordings that I made myself. And they could see then how you push button A to get one message up, and you push button B to get another message up, and you can get a third message up if you push A and B together. So the microbit gives you a number of inputs. We then progressed on to controlling a servo motor by pushing button A to turn it in one direction, and by pushing B to turn it in a different direction and a different angle. When we came back to school, we began looking at other mechanisms there, like a cam and follower driven off a DC motor that's used in mechanisms like guillotines, and how you can control motor's speed by using a variable resistor to speed it up and slow it down. We then looked at another motor controlled mechanism called a rack and pinion, which uses a motor with gears to move a mechanism. Then we looked at a chain and sprocket, which is using a motor to control a sliding lock or a ram. We looked at how a pulley can be used then as a mechanism, because a focus of the new junior cycle is mechanisms and electronics being integrated. Then we looked at how a servo motor can be used to raise and lower a barrier, like going into a car park. So servo motors have a gearbox attached to them, so they don't do full rotations of the arm, just maybe a quarter of a turn. The Kitronic robot that we got there that can be used with the microbit, it's got digital lights on the front of it there to display text, and it can be programmed to drive forward and backwards and spin around and pause and delays, and they're very powerful in what you can program them to do. And there's a lot to be learned about them, really. I guess we're only starting off. So I ordered 10 of them and gave a couple of them out to the students, and they brought them back, and I couldn't believe the progress they had made with them over the weekend. So not only had they assembled them, but they had followed the instruction book and looked stuff up on YouTube, and they had programmed them to move forward and backwards and have different coloured lights flashing and stuff like that. And they had gone miles beyond where I had expected them to get. Overall, I suppose the class learned a lot. They enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I enjoyed it. We used a whole load of technology, from Microsoft Teams to YouTube videos to downloading phone apps, programming and coding on phone apps, and actually assembling robots and coding them. And I suppose I feel that the ETB got very good return on their investment, and certainly the class did, and a lot of learning took place, and I guess that's what it's all about. So yeah, thanks very much for the investment.